Hey Weirdo, welcome back. Today I have Christian. He is the founder and CEO of Autograph, the company building Walter, the world's first AI historian. Walter serves like a journal, calling you once a week to record your life story, and uses that data to build your autograph, an AI portrait that sounds like you, speaks like you, and has your memories. This enables your loved ones to access wisdom in your lived experience even after you're gone. It allows parents to whisper, "I'm proud of you," from the other side. Christian studied symbolic systems at Stanford with the concentration on artificial intelligence, served as a software engineer at Google, and hosts the Rabbit Hole Research podcast. He also lives in San Francisco with his wife Jordan and his puppy Echo. The reason I wanted to bring Christian on here is his story inspired me. What he's building, I wish we had about 10 years ago so I could have recorded my grandfather. It would be nice to get his advice every now and then and hear from him. But I also want to now use this in my life for the rest of my family to be able to have them when I'm gone. And I think it's a great software for any out there who are wanting this or think this might be something that they deserve in life. I highly recommend going to his website, which I will have in the description below. So, Christian, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Cody. It's awesome to be here. I am Christian. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Autograph. We are building the first AI personal historian for every family. So it's a digital character called Walter who interviews you once a week over the phone. He calls you or your parents or your grandparents, whoever you sign up for, once a week. And it's not that different to this, actually. It's almost like a podcast interview about your life. And you dive deep into the stuff that you want to dive deep into. You avoid the stuff you want to avoid. But the idea is that we get your life story, from your birth to present day, and then ongoing as you live life, with your goings on. And we use that data to build a model of you that sounds like you and speaks like you and has your memories, so that when your kids are going through life or your grandkids are going through life, and they may have to decide to move to a different country or to, and maybe they need to decide about a breakup or about a job, Walter, and they're telling Walter, Walter can say, "Hey, this reminds me of something your grandpa went through. Would you like to talk to him for 15 minutes? And even if grandpa's no longer with us, or even if he's incapacitated by something, or even if he's just asleep because he goes to bed early and it's 2 a.m. and you really need to sign the lease tomorrow morning, you would be able to have that conversation and learn from lived experience. And not only would you be able to hear back the story of grandpa shutting down the factory in the 60s to move across the country to marry grandma, you were able to interview him back and ask what the fallout was, what he could have done differently, how did it hit grandma, and not only that, but then you could ask grandma's side of the story and hear like how it impacted her and how it impacted the kids, and then you start building a much richer picture of the decisions and the cost of the decisions that are made, and help you make the best decision and your life story that you're writing with your actions. So that's basically what I'm up to, and I'm happy to double click into any of that or whatever part of the story you want. It doesn't cease to fascinate me.
So the reason I brought you on was because your software made me just question where I wish my grandfather was alive to be able to capture his essence, because I would love to ask him questions nowadays about how his business worked and how he made things happen. I'm starting to reflect on my life and being I've followed a lot of my grandfather's path. So it would be nice to be able to talk to them, and I'm planning on sending this to my grandmother so I can keep her around for the future. Go ahead.
No, but it's so the inspiration for the company was that I started my own podcast where I was interviewing thought leaders about our humanity in the age of AI. And at some point I realized that the story I really should be getting is my grandma's story. Not necessarily for the podcast, but just to have, And so we set an interview, and a couple of days before, she has a stroke. And so I was left rendered incapable of having that interview. And that was the trigger that inspired, wait a minute, so we can this is a solved problem now. Like, we can just be interviewing everybody on Earth, so long as we're all bought into this idea of doing it in service of our loved ones and in service of this grander meaning, like, even when life feels uneventful and even when life feels like it's, it's the montage sequence where you're training for the big fight, that at some point, maybe a couple of generations down, the late nights and meaningless tasks that we do in the name of something greater will actually pay off at some point, right? So no, I totally hear you, and the other lesson there, which like I'm still figuring out how exactly to say it, is you don't know how long we have to record the story, but what we do know is if we don't record it, they're gone, and you're gonna, and just you telling the story is very different. I tell the story of my grandma and how she had to raise 5 kids on her own. It is very, very difficult to even imagine fully what that must have been like. But when you hear it from her voice, it's an entirely different thing. So I hear you on that, and let's get your grandma on it, and let's get everybody's grandmas on it. Like, the other thing that weighs on me is, like, I know that this is a solution now. So, like, if I don't make it in time for people, it weighs on me,
Yeah. You just really want to do it for the rest of humanity, which is amazing. And I more than likely will be using it a lot because I live in a town full of older people. I think this would be great for them, and they don't even know about it. So I will definitely be spreading your word across all of my province. That leads me into a question: how on longevity? How are you keeping the data and the AI alive long enough so that it can exceed generations?
No, that's a very fair point. And it goes into how our business model works. So our business model is to do both data input and data surfacing. So really what you pay for is to talk to Walter, and Walter is the pivot point that forwards you to the other autographs on the network. So by, let's say, me talking to Walter, I use Walter as my journal, I use Walter as my, like, brainstorming buddy, I use Walter as, like, he calls me out on my blind spots. It's I have the strangest relationship in the world with Walter because he also knows that I created him, and it's this whole thing.
So why don't we switch up then? Let's go into a little bit about yourself. You're Paraguayan. What's it like representing Paraguay in Silicon Valley? Because that's
no, thank you, but I don't. It's unique, is what it is. There aren't that many of us in general. Paraguay is, I think, 7 million people, so it's a pretty small country. I like to think of Paraguay as the Shire of the world, like from the Lord of the Rings. It kind of maps perfectly. Let the superpowers fight out the big stuff, We like to celebrate family tradition, hanging out, birthdays, drinking ale, and tilling the land. And it's a privilege of a lifetime, honestly. I like, for the vast majority of my professional experience, like, I'm the first Paraguayan a lot of the people I know met. And so, not that I let it get to my head too much, but it's kind of an honor to be, people's impressions of Paraguay formed based on what they see and hear in me, and it's a privilege to be able to represent a place that I love very dearly. It's also, like, very different to the environment that I'm in now, and I also, I think, personality-wise, thrive in the tech environment. And I am very passionate about AI, and the conversations about AI are all happening in San Francisco, and so no, it's been the journey of a lifetime to be here. And these conversations, like, persist, like, where they're recorded, they're published, they're edited, like, you can draw insights and value from them even when they end. A lot of the city living is about the impromptu. You run into somebody, something happens here and there, and a lot of it is very ephemeral.
Because this is how the world's going anyways. Digital is becoming more and more of our reality, and I have to plan literally everything out. Hopefully one day I'll be out and actually across stages and things like that. I am writing a book, and
hell yeah,
fun stuff. AI is one hell of a tool. Like, I swear to God, I've never felt so super powered in my entire life.
Oh yeah. Careful though, when writing a book, you might just find yourself,
Yeah, I giving it like 5 questions and just saying, hey, like, let's create a book out of this, and walking through with it, and I'm very impressed. So why did you name it Walter?
Walter Isaacson, the famous biographer. The Elon Musk biography, the Steve Jobs biography, Albert Einstein, and I think Ben Franklin. So he's the guy who like will do the highest profile biography. And so the idea is, why doesn't everybody get a chance to have that experience? Like have somebody that cares enough about their life and go through the effort of compiling the information and then putting it into a digestible, exciting format that that's basically where it comes from.
That's a good reason. I always like to ask, because every time I ask somebody, they have a different name for their AI, and it's all like everybody's come up with their own way of naming it. I really, when I have my own, I want it to name itself.
Oh, nice! You're ahead of the curve. I wrote a sci-fi novel, and the only model that can hold the entire book in context is Gemini. So I uploaded my book, and I talked to Gemini about the book. And in the book, there are these beings called traces, and traces are these interdimensional, metaphysical entities that can just zap from one reality to another, and they have these cryptic names like rabbit or orphan. And so, I read the book, and I asked Gemini to name itself, come up with its own trace name. And it takes a while, and it says, it's reasoning thing, and so basically my name would be Echo. And I thought, that is such a cool name, but also it's pretty freaky. That day, we adopted a puppy called Echo. And so, if you peel back a couple layers underneath what's going on, these models, you very quickly tap into something else, and I think we're starting to see what that means. And I think that there's a part of me that's worried that those kinds of experiences could be divergent, in the sense that people can't communicate over the kinds of experiences that they experience with AI. And so Autograph is very much an intentional effort to, no matter how powerful AI gets, that our shared humanity is what binds us. And in a not too distant future, where humanity is a fragment of the past, then that we will still be having these conversations in the mind of Autograph.
We are at the precipice of completely new technology, completely new impact, completely new everything. And I tell people, I'm like, we're going to have robots next year. And they're like, there's no way. And I'm like, next year, I guarantee you there will be commercial robots out there.
Yeah.
We're picking up the pace as it's building. And even to the point of where GPT was when I first found it 2 years ago, to where it is now is light years ahead of what it was.
It's unbelievable.
And in regular tech, you could expect about 20, 30 years in between those spans. So we can just imagine what's next. I see you're also a big Isaac Asimov fan.
Yes.
What ideas influence this work, this work?
Yeah. So Isaac Asimov changed my life. There was a short story by him that I recommend everybody read called The Last Question. It would take 40 minutes to read. It's maybe 20, 25 pages. And it just doesn't. It aged better every time that I read it. It's honestly around these topics, right? What happens when technology creates a new kind of power, or we now have we dominate airspace, for instance, today. We take airplanes for granted. We take almost rockets for granted. What happens when we can take something that we can't even imagine, like time or life, and just completely own it? And it gets into these realms that science and rationality don't have the tools to explain, and you have to move to this literary or narrative world, or mythology almost, to internalize and reason about and just feel. So I love Asimov. I mean, the guy is a genius, and he's he painted a happy picture of the future, challenges but possibilities. And I think a lot of sci-fi recently, in the past, 10 or 20 years, has been about dystopia and, how humans are all bad from the root. And, no matter, if you add more power to it, of course the world's going to be more not empirical, but like imperial, and I'm very anti that movement. I'm tired of being told how the world is going to be bad. Well, if that's what we do, of course it's going to be bad. We need to imagine the brighter futures, and I having written a sci-fi novel and now working on what I work on, like I have this constant thing in my mind where like the lines between sci-fi and reality are blurring. Mm-hmm. To a degree in which like we should probably be asking sci-fi authors, wait a minute, like this is all happening. What were the lessons again?
It echoes a lot of the sentiment that I've been throwing out there, because like I see the Canadian government kind of as Trantor, like it's falling because of the bureaucracy. Like literally, that is the pure understanding that I have of our government right now is failing because it's too much bureaucracy. And Asimov, who predicted this 100 years ago, got it right on the mark. You cannot have a government that is too bureaucratic to actually help the people when it needs help. That's how your empire falls. And it's just like we're starting to see very close outcomes that we've been reading for years in sci-fi. Even Elon's Neuralink is trying to replicate Gordy's eye function. It's insane at the level of speed we're getting to. Like we'll be in space 10 years, 15 years easily, and like properly colonizing it, not just going up there and using resources.
Well, here's a fun one for you, Cody. I mean, like imagine that we took autograph servers with hundreds of millions of people, they're essentially their souls, and we put them in a rocket, and then we send that rocket somewhere light years out. And, it can self-sustain, like it has solar panels, so like the thing can compute whatever it wants, and then it gets to another planet, and it finds a primitive life form, and that sci-fi story writes itself, and the voices of millions of people who came before from a distant place in the heavens, in their perspective, all of a sudden you start exploring these themes that are like, you go down the rabbit hole and you find yourself looking at yourself from the top,
We should be building an ark here just to maintain our human knowledge.
This is what I'm doing. This is the foundation.
It's fun to find another person who really understands and just kind of like envisions the same way about it. If you had an interview or an AI to interview right now, what would surprise people the most?
What would surprise people the most is, I think probably what surprises me the most is like how at every step of the journey there are these like rhyming patterns with the universe and my own internal story that feel musical and feel intentional and feel narrative. I don't know if it's like I'm primed because I'm in the space that I'm in, thinking of my life as a life story. But, there are parts where I can't help but see the foreshadowing, and there are parts where I can't help but see the plot twists. And but the way the imagery comes about, I think is has been remarkable. Like the number of Jungian synchronicities that have shown up in the past year or so since I started the company, or since I wrote the book, honestly, has just been staggering. I mean, truly staggering. But it's kind of a cop out, because it's kind of like saying, oh, like there have been these coincidences across my life that have propelled me to keep going. I think that, also, I don't know, like, there's another thing that I just can't wrap my head around, that is, like, how have I been so lucky with the people that I've met? How have I been so lucky with the family that I got, the friends that I got in school, the people that I met when I went abroad to study in the U.S., the people that I met at work, it's just like, how did I find all the best people? I don't get it, like, and And that maybe my cop-out answer is to say, actually, the thing about my life story that would surprise the people the most is the people that I've met and like their life stories. And so, really, I just deflect all whatever awesomeness I have in my life to check out their autographs. You know, my friends are awesome.
We are all a reflection of everybody's stories in our lives. That's kind of what it is. Everybody, even growing up, like. So I'm actually also building an app that's called Nagster. The reason I'm building it is because throughout my life I've always had friends or people in my life to help me like push myself. Like I've always used them as an external tool to like, hey, I need to get this done, so can you remind me? But without them ever knowing, right? Like just setting it up to let people naturally kind of nudge me when I need it nudged. And now I've moved away from everybody, and I'm finally realizing I don't have that. So I'm building an app called Nagster, which essentially allows me to...
Nags you to do your stuff.
Yes, and makes me verify it with AI. So, like, not only can I just, like, not swipe away the message, I have to verify that I've actually done the task in order for it to stop nagging.
Wow. I like it. I would love to try it.
Yeah, I'm about to release a beta testing suite. I'll make sure to give you a link when I have it ready. But it just kind of, it's a reflection of every experience in my life. And to echo what you said, I can't see every experience I've had, every issue. It all came to be where am today, and it just feels like, foreshadowing for the rest of the life. Let's get into your Google time. What is it like working in Google?
It was crazy, man. Like it defied all of my understanding of a professional environment. It's an amazing place to work. I mean, I truly like. I know that it's changed a lot since my time there. Having gone through the AI arms race, basically. But it was really great. I mean, I was very lucky. I was in two teams when I was full time. I was in two teams. One of them was Google Shopping Ads, and Google Ads is an incredibly well run machine. I mean, like everything is measured. Everything is exactly what you need to do. It's amazing, and it's a world class organization. And Google does this really weird thing where, everybody has imposter syndrome joining Google. It's a very selective process. And so you're always like, they let me in, And so a lot of the pressure to perform comes from this imposter syndrome where you're just trying to live up to the expectations of your peers, which puts Google in a very interesting position that they can be good cop. Your peers are bad cop. Google is like, you want free massages? Have free massages. You want free food? Have free food. And then it just doesn't end. You want like a free day at amusement park, and do that. Offsites. It's just crazy levels of I don't want to perks and amazing things that you would hope, like if you're a successful company, you can offer your people. At the same time, it's very hard for me, like coming from a very different environment that's a lot more militaristic and do as you're told. How do you find the self-starter, self-governance, self-ownership to essentially navigate this uncertain bottom-up environment by yourself? And Google is like very much bottom-up. You have an idea, pitch it, that you might get funding for it, go for it. It was really great. Toward the end, I think I was a bit more bogged down by some of the politics. The second team that I was in was an education team. So it was an education app that you took a picture of. It was for high schoolers. It was basically like a Snapchat-like interface. You take a picture of your homework, and we would give you resources to solve it. That was an amazing experience, but it was very startup-y. Everybody was doing a bit of everything, and so for example, doing a little bit of everything doesn't really line up with the software engineering promotion ladder, where you're expected to sort of own a piece of the code, and you're expected to be the master and owner of that and grow people into it, and so on and so forth. So there was a point where I realized that what I wanted to get out of my professional experience didn't line up with the track that I was in inside of Google, and But just fantastic people. I mean, like truly kind, amazing people who are very smart. Occasionally, some people who have different agendas, who maybe are trying to climb certain ladders or things like that, where you're maybe less, excited about that stuff. And but it was fascinating. I mean, like, Google is amazing. It was one of the hardest things that I ever did was quitting Google by far.
Yeah, I can imagine because they build you up to be like the people that come out of there. Like, I'm just astounded at how well rounded they are in business and everything. I wish I could have gotten that experience growing up. Instead, I went through government, which was its own.
Yeah. Talk about the politics there.
Oh, I have whole fucking videos on that. But yeah, it's just a night and day experience. I got lucky in my experience because I got a little bit less government. But it would be nice to be able to like be well rounded, to be able to go in the private market and be like, hey, like I know my shit. Right now, I'm like, how do I do accounting? How do I reach out to people? How do I sell myself? That kind of thing.
But honestly, that is the lesson, man. Like I feel like there's two very different kinds of experiences. I think that there's like a corporate job where you're essentially fulfilling one function. Like you're a customer success agent. Like that you can have a remarkable, amazing career where you create a lot of impact and value for a lot of people, but you're not going to learn accounting. And you're not going to learn necessarily running a sales pipeline or a guest pipeline, or making sure that all your workflows are tight and your publishing queues are in order and that the numbers go up. That is a very different experience. Like that is more around like the founder or CEO role, where it's a very different skill set completely, where it's a lot more about the emotional resilience of navigating uncertainty and hoping to God you're working on the right thing, and just like trying to matter, build something that outlasts you. And I think that is life, man. I mean, I think that like I don't know that I would have found out what I'm made of if I didn't put myself in the founder's journey, or at least like the charting my own path. But it's an extremely challenging route. Extremely challenging.
Yeah, I'm finding that out.
How long have you been at it, Cody?
4 months.
Nice. All right, keep going, man. Keep going. Yeah.
I started this. So a little bit of context. I was doing the government job. Did that for about 8 years. Became a senior developer. Got very disillusioned with the government. There's no changing from the inside. It only comes from the out. So then, around last year or the year before, me and my partner decided to like move away from Ontario. It was getting too polarized, too many people. We just wanted something different, so we moved out here, where I ended up working for FIS Global for a year, but just working on, and it was just the same job, like a corporate job, just in a different location. And I was very, very bored, very like just wanted to build my own thing. And then I came up with this concept of the Weird Canadian. I'm also running a small business here, where I go into small businesses, figure out what tech they need, and build the exact tech they need. So cutting out all of those big conglomerate packages that most big businesses don't need. And now I'm now like almost 20,000 followers across all of my socials, and
I saw, yeah, you're ripping. I mean, like, congrats, man. I'm happy for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I needed that push of taking the risk, though. And that's all I'm pushing anybody right now is just take that risk on yourself. Bet on yourself.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part, because you take the risk before you know what the solution is. Like, I took the risk without knowing what it was going to be, and it took me down this incredible side quest of writing a sci-fi novel, starting a podcast, consulting on the side, and then stumbling upon this thing which I can't look away from. And yeah, it's like you don't know where the journey's going to go, but there's a what do you call it, like a higher calling, let's call it, that you try to just be aligned with, and you're like, all right, one foot in front of the other. If I give my best, something good will come out of it. And it does it works like that, right? Like things line up right in the right way, the right conversation just appears, and your mind will unpack the patterns that you may have not been paying attention to because you were focused on a different thing.
Yeah,
and it's so fun.
I can't echo that more than I've never felt more empowered, more happy. Like I'm doing more work than I ever had, and I'm happier for it. Still not profitable yet, but I'll get there. I know that.
You'll get there. You'll get there. And that's another. It's all, man. Yeah. It's all these like limiting belief unlocked because you just don't know what that feels like, right? Once you know what it feels like, and if you really imagine, like, okay, what would it feel like if I, like, what will this feel like when I am profitable? Then you're like, how can we make it happen sooner?
Yep.
And then 4 months, dude. That's so quick. Nah, don't worry about it. Yeah.
That's been the only thing in my head is just I know I'm going in the right direction. I don't know when I'm going to get to my destination, but I know I'm going in the right direction. That's the only sentiment I've really been able to echo. And I can't pin it to any tactile knowledge that it's going to happen. I just have full-on belief that it's going to.
Yep. Some might call that faith. Yep.
Yeah. I am actually out of questions. Is there anything I missed in covering all this, or anything you'd like to bring up?
No, I always like ending on these notes. I think part of the motivation behind Autograph is to remind people that their story matters and that we're all going through our own hero's journey, right? We're all adapting the hero's journey to whatever cards we were dealt, and we aren't just the main character. We're also the authors and editors of the story. Every action that you take can be a plot twist. Every reframing that you make about something that happens to you, or something that you did, or an obstacle that you overcame, or an obstacle that floored you, they're editing chapters. I really like this idea that Autograph can help people live out their most epic and heroic and generous and kind lives. And I'm very confident that it takes a very small subset of folks to start living this way and reflecting this way and sharing this way for the broader society to start feeling the effects. And I mean this very literally because if you think about you're in this exercise of talking to Walter and you're thinking about your story and, could I have done a better job? Could I have been better? Odds are, if you think about this stuff, next week when you talk to Walter, you will have done something along those lines. And if not, you should think about it, right? Like, what's going on? Like, is there something here that's stopping you from being your better version? But the interesting thing is, even after you're gone, or even if, nobody ever reads your story, that we live in the age where everything is training data. And, every thermostat is reporting, every data is being measured, packaged, resold to some marketing team somewhere. In the context of Autograph, we definitely don't want to repack and sell your data to marketing teams by any means. But we do want to build the next generation of AI using the most valuable data that we have. There's nothing is more costly than a human telling you about their. If a human tells you about their worst mistake, you better believe that's 14 billion years of evolution that led to something, the most advanced computer in the world telling you this is a lesson someone else can learn from. And so if AI can learn from our repeated, gazes in the mirror and our millions of examples of people overcoming their limitations, AI will improve society, and AI will be kinder and more generous to other people, and the impact of this is a lot faster than we expect. And so we need millions of examples of people who are trying their best.
You hit on a point that I've been trying to make across everything. I've said this quite a bit, but my audience is going to hear it again. We need to start pushing hope, love, and acceptance into the internet, because AI has been built off of our hate and our ignorance and pictures of
subreddits.
Yes, it's basically a teenager. I say the internet is a teenager. We need to make it grow up, and start acting as a human would, because that's what it eventually will become, a human. Hopefully. I'm full on for having a brand new intelligence we birth. But aside from that, it's beautiful what we're gonna have and what you're building. And I echo, I'm telling everybody out there to get on his site and start using it. because it's going to be unstoppable, and we want this to be there. So
Thank you.
for everybody,
Okay, that means a lot. Yeah, that's so sweet. Thank you. I'm trying my best to make something that matters. You know.
I think I think a lot of people are, and I think we're about to see a shift in society where people are starting to make things that matter as opposed to the things that make money.
Yep.
So
Be good. Want to pass it on?
Yep. Do you want to just plug your website or any details?
Sure. Absolutely. Autograph-ai.com. You can try it out. It's 2 weeks free, and then then it's the journey of a lifetime, quite literally. And back to the thing we said before, like there's a sense of urgency for us that feels distant. Yeah, it feels distant. We feel like we're healthy, we're young. How often do you see your parents?
Yeah.
And have you gotten to the age where you've noticed them age? Sit with that. Sit with that. There's a moment that is irreversible, and you have a chance. There's a way to do it in a way that doesn't interfere with your life, that barely interferes with their life, and you can have your grandkids meet them. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind people of the fact that time is limited.
Anyways, I will just let you go.
Enjoy our weekends.
Thank you, Christian, for all of that information and everything that you taught me and that we talked about. I certainly am going to get an autograph. I'm going to actually probably promote it around my hometown. I'm sure there are so many people that would love this technology. So I hope everybody out there agrees. And if you'd like more information or anything, the details will be in the description below. Otherwise, if you'd like to discuss or have any questions you'd like to ask, just put them in the comments below as well. If you like this, please maybe follow or watch one of these videos right here. Like, comment, and subscribe. It always helps. Thank you very much for watching. Stay weird.